When you think of the Olympics, what comes to mind? Is it global unity and athletic achievement? Or is it a huge financial and environmental mess just waiting to happen? For a long time, it's felt like the second one. But the upcoming Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Games, they're promising something totally different. They're not just going for gold medals. They're trying to invent a whole new way to host these massive events.
So that really brings us to the big question, right? Can the Olympics actually be sustainable? For years, the answer has pretty much been a hard no. But Milano Cortina is betting they can completely rewrite the rules. The question is, how are they going to do it?
Okay, so to really get why this is such a potential game changer, we have to take a quick look back. Because let's be honest, the legacy of the Olympic Games hasn't always been so golden.
You've seen the stories, right? Host cities would pour billions, with a B, into these spectacular venues that, as soon as the flame went out, just sat there. They became these expensive, decaying monuments to a 2-week party. These so-called white elephants were a huge blinking sign that something had to change.
And that brings us to a really important turning point from the International Olympic Committee itself. They knew the old way just wasn't working anymore, and that led to a completely new philosophy.
It's called the new norm, and it's a complete flip of the script. Instead of cities bending over backward to fit the Olympics now have to fit the city. The whole focus is on using what's already there and making sure that any new investment actually serves the community for years and years to come.
And this is exactly where Milano Cortina is putting that new rulebook into practice. Their entire strategy is built on 2 core pillars, being relentlessly green and being incredibly smart. Now take a look at this. Just one number on the screen, 93%. What on earth could that possibly refer to? Well, that's the percentage of venues for these games that are either already built or are just going to be temporary. Think about that. This is their direct shot at ending the whole white elephant problem for good. It means a massive reduction in new construction, concrete, and all the carbon emissions that come with it. And their commitment to green energy doesn't stop with just the buildings. As you can see here, all of the competition sites are going to run on 100% renewable electricity. Even the vehicles are getting a green makeover. They're using a biofuel called HVO. It stands for hydrotreated vegetable oil, basically a renewable substitute for diesel to slash pollution. This all rolls up into their big Now 26 program, which is all about creating what they call a circular economy. They're aiming to recycle 80% of all packaging, donate 100% of unconsumed food, and maybe most importantly, make sure that any new buildings have a real, permanent public use after the games are over. Okay, so that's the green side of the coin. But with the games spread across a huge chunk of northern Italy, you have a massive logistical challenge. How do you make it all feel like one single, cohesive event? The answer is technology.
This right here is the core idea. Think of it like a digital backbone for the entire region. It's a combination of high-speed rail and an even higher-speed cloud network that acts as a nervous system, linking every single venue, athlete, and fan from the city of Milan all the way up to the peaks of the Alps in Cortina.
So what actually makes up this digital nervous system? We're talking seamless 5G and fiber optic networks everywhere. Broadcasting is going to be cloud-based, which means way fewer crews on the ground. And get this, some of the technical teams won't even be in Italy. They'll manage systems from remote locations, which completely slashes the travel carbon footprint and lets them use the best people for the job, no matter where they are in the world. So we've got all this green thinking and all this high-tech wizardry. But what does it actually mean for people on the ground? The legacy of these games is designed to be way more than just memories of sporting events. Here is a perfect, super concrete example. The main Olympic Village in Milan isn't being built for just a few weeks of glory. The moment the Paralympics end, it's designed to immediately become much-needed housing for students. That is planning for the long term, right from the very beginning. And this new approach has real-world benefits for everyone. If you're a spectator, you'll be using public transport. No private cars allowed in key areas. You'll use an app called Fan26 for pretty much everything. And for the locals, the legacy is tangible. Upgraded train lines, a metro that runs until 2 a.m., and for the first time, permanent high-speed 5G in remote mountain towns. But let's be realistic. A model this ambitious doesn't come without risks. Spreading out the games and relying so heavily on technology creates a whole new set of pretty serious challenges.
Just to put the sheer scale of the challenge into perspective, look at this number. That's the approximate distance between the two main hubs, Milan and Cortina. That is a huge logistical hurdle to overcome.
And that distance is just one of 3 core risks. First, the logistics of moving thousands of people and tons of equipment are just incredibly complex. Second, despite all the green tech, the games are still dependent on cold weather. A warm spell would mean making a lot more artificial snow, which could drive that renewable energy usage way, way up. And finally, a fully digital event becomes a massive target for cyber attacks, requiring constant world-class security.
So, that leaves us with the final question. What Milano Cortina 2026 is attempting is truly revolutionary. If they pull it off, they could create the blueprint for all future mega events. But with such high stakes and so many variables, it's also an incredibly difficult high-wire act. I guess we'll all be watching to see if they can stick the landing.